those of you who don't know, if there's one thing you ever take away from this, it's the numbers you see right here, where it says source assessor. All these numbers come directly from these property record cards right here. Okay, so if we went up here and we typed in 815 North Gray, 815, right?
Yep.
So we type in 815 North Gray here. It's going to load up, and it's going to say exactly what we said right here, right? 734, 672.
Yep.
734, 672. So these numbers just don't come out of thin air. They're pulled from the property record card data maintained by the county, and that's only as accurate as
the county.
So,
and we know how that goes.
Yes, we do.
So just be aware that the property you see, maybe online, maybe through Zillow, maybe through your brokers or wholesalers for that matter, could be not as big or maybe even bigger than what you're.
And we've seen both.
Always verify.
At least in our business, we've seen both of that. I mean, we've seen
100%.
properties come in bigger than we think, and frankly, could have sold for more.
Yep.
And other times, it's overstated, and so there's just no real way other than to get something back to the viewers, like. Let's double check that. Let's figure out a way to go in and maybe verify previous MyBoard listings or whatever.
Absolutely.
Right? If you get the thing appraised for if you're going to refinance it out as a rental or if you're going to do it as a flip, the appraiser's going to come and measure it anyway. It's just best to know maybe ahead of time.
Right.
The appraiser going in there and saying, hey, your house is 400 square feet smaller than you thought. 400 square feet times $200 a foot gets really expensive really fast. So. Always verify. So just to be clear, Tashina, to fast forward on this deal, 815 North Gray. Your investor has it under contract to buy right now at call it 75.
Yep.
And his play on this is he thinks he's built in so much equity just by buying it right that he's just throwing it right back on the market.
He is, and he bought it as a flip. He said his money costs were going to be higher than he anticipated, and I'm like, well, you can have it as a rental all day long. I could rent that as $950 and you'd be solid. And he's like, well, that's not really what I want to do. So he's
$950 for the 800 block in North Gray. Put that on a plaque for me somewhere. That's all. I mean, that speaks to how quickly the neighbors can change. I mean,
absolutely.
If you had told me a year ago that was going to happen, I would have laughed you square out of this studio.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But I mean, it's cool to see that. It's because of players like you guys and. Ashley and Ryan come to mind as players in this little area.
Yeah, they do a lot.
And they deserve all the credit in the world. It's super cool to see.
Yeah.
Cool. So 815 North Gray coming soon to a market near you again. Again, take two watching this.
Call us.
Call Tashina. She's going to have 815 North Gray here before too long. To completely shift gears here, something that I wanted to show the people is something that we put together on Friday. Not urban core, not an old house. The square footage is correct. The person who's buying it is making it a rental, so the complete opposite, I guess, of this is the one that we signed up in Whiteland. Do you remember?
Oh, gracious sakes. I got to look it up now.
No, it's
290 something.
290 something. Okay.
Yep, look that up for the people. 290.
I think it's 290 Ardmore. Does that sound?
That sounds right. Yeah, that sounds right. I'm going to look this up now regardless. This is
actually, there's literally nothing there. So what I'm doing here, guys, again, this is just, I guess I'm gonna pull this up on the BLC, the MLS. This is what we Indianapolis realtors, I guess, use. I guess this is unique to my board. Metropolitan Indianapolis Board of Realtors use is our internal data system. Pull things up, listings, active, pending, sold, whatever. But I always go through, and this is what we always look for when we work with wholesale deals or when Tashina pulls up comps for her clients. This is what everyone uses to identify stuff that's been on the market, stuff that's sold, market data here. So
I'm really curious, Tashina, with you on this too, because what we showed last week and what we always do with our clients here internally is you'll see this active pending, and we'll see everything that's sold within the last year, right?
Yep.
And so that's what's going to come up. And that radius around the subject property is going to be a quarter mile. So
that's the default.
That's the default that we use. Do you do the same thing, or do you do something differently when you're looking at comps instantly? Before we look into this.
Yes. It depends on where it is, and this I'm guessing is in a neighborhood.
This is in a neighborhood, yes.
So I would only look up that specific neighborhood. Okay. I wouldn't do a quarter radius. Then, of course, like with Gray, I would do 10th to.
Sure.
You have your very set boundary lines.
Well, and I'm glad you said that too, because we, for those of you who are buying from wholesalers, I highly encourage you to be very skeptical of the comps you receive, even with my group. Tishina's right. This is a great intersection to get completely burned by bad comps.
100%. I just saw a wholesale deal that one of my guys sent to me, and it was right around there. I mean, it's not far from North Gray, and they pulled comps and told him that it was worth $350.
From Bottle Works, man, from Mass Ave.
So again,
Woodruff Place.
I was like, oh,
God bless Windsor Park. God bless Woodruff Place. But again, folks, for those of you not from Indy, here downtown's right here. This is Massachusetts Avenue, where all the bars and restaurants are. The closer you are to Mass Ave and the bars and stuff, the higher the values of your property goes naturally. So what some of these sleazy folks are doing are grabbing stuff from 10th and what is this 10th and like Drexel or something, whatever 10th and Dearborn and saying the comps are totally the same as this 4-bedroom 3.5 bath new construction in Windsor Park, and it's not. So be skeptical. Maybe the complete opposite from this is the property we had in.
Well, just make sure you work with someone who knows what they're talking about. Make sure you work with a broker or a wholesaler who's been there, done that, and can show you evidence that they're not full of shit, frankly, right? Just make sure the comps are believable and you're getting second opinions.
People get so excited about those deals, and I'm like, sorry.
Yeah,
No.
So just to give you some further clarification here, if this is not indicative enough of being far away from the urban core, Whiteland is about as far south as we wholesaled a deal in Franklin last week, but that was like the farthest south we've ever gone. We've done Franklin, I guess, a couple times now, but Whiteland is certainly on the far south end. Not a whole lot to worry about as far as non-comparable neighborhoods, but when you're investigating these deals, you want to make sure that there's not some brand new subdivision or something like that butts up right next to this house, because again, it's just not a comp. So to pull this thing up, what are the details on this thing, Clay, roughly? Do you remember?
3 1.5, about 1,400 feet.
3 1.5. Can you walk through the specs on this one?
Happy to. I'm just making sure I'm on the right. I'm thinking about the right house. So and that's why I did. So, and again, when you're talking to our group guys, you're going to find that we focus in on a handful of key elements of a house to assess value. So I said it was 3 1.5, 1,400 square feet. That's dramatically different than what it actually is at 3-bedroom, 1-bath, 900 square feet. Right? That changes everything. So when we're looking at this, make sure that what we call them our stats. Make sure your stats are accurate. Tashina mentioned a full bathroom in the basement of that house, right? Or a half bath, whatever it is. That can either add or detract from value, missing that one small element on otherwise could be an easily overlooked thing. So 3-bedroom, 1-bath, 900 feet. And if I recall correctly, that house directly across the way, this is what I want to make sure the pitfall we're not falling into. This is objectively in the same neighborhood. It's objectively directly across the street. And this is a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath monster that cannot be used. It can't be used as a comp. It's way too big.
And you saw that lot size too.
It's huge.
The differences
That's a good
between
point
those.
too. Yeah.
The lot sizes downtown Indianapolis don't mean as much. They still mean something, but they don't mean as much as when you're in the burbs like that.
Yeah. So you're talking essentially a triple lot where this livable square footage is 3 times the size of ours. This was like 2,200 over 900 or whatever it is. So
what I'm trying to do is find, again, this is a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, 900 square feet. So in a perfect world, there's a comp out here that exists. It's a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, 1,000 square feet, no basement in a garage. And we start looking at these guys like that. Architecturally, yeah,
that's probably pretty close.
Sure, it's almost like I ran these comps.
So
almost.
So this is a decent little house or whatever. It's a nice house. I mean, there's a lot of good, there's a nice house. There's a lot of good things going for it. So I think this is certainly a good ARV for.
Well, Tashina, if you're walking through this and you've got a client, right, and you're trying to get like a pinpoint, a ballpark, right? Because I don't think any good broker is going to come in and say that house is worth exactly $127,912, right? You're trying to get close.
They all want you to.
Right, I know.
But if I was doing that, I would take what it sold for, which was the 127.5, and I would divide that by the square feet that house is, and then I'd multiply it by the actual square feet of the one that I'm trying to sell.
Got it. So you're getting a per square foot value and trying to understand 915
And then I tell them, theoretically, I would say that this is your price per square foot, or this would be your value. However, we know the smaller the house, the higher their price per square foot. So we will give ourselves some leeway for that.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes all the sense in the world, and especially when you're talking a 900 square foot on slab, whatever, 50s, 60s construction. There are so many fewer adjustments you'll have to make in order to really figure that out. So you do per square foot,
And
then
here you are.
Well, maybe walk the people through that. What do you mean by adjustment? What do you?
Well, yeah, that's a good point. Your appraisers do this too, so this isn't just like a broker or a wholesaler or whatever talking, but when you have, again, let's focus on this comp, this monster is what Clay called it, right across from the subject property here. Let's talk about it. Right out of the gate, we said this isn't a comp. Okay, why? Well, this is not a comparable sale for. I'll just start with the size. Okay, like the subject property is 900 square feet. This 290 Ardmore. The subject property is 900 square feet. This property sold for it was 2,200 square feet, livable square feet. So right out of the gate, you're talking about a house that's almost 2.5 times the size of the subject. In addition to that, it has 2.5 more bathrooms, right?
1.5, but yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, 1.5 more bathrooms. And
So 2.5 bathrooms versus 1.
Right, 2.5 bathrooms versus 1. And it's on a triple lot. And we saw that, again, Tashina referenced the lot size, which I agree matters a lot, especially in the suburbs. But if you look at, our little lot here, and then this behemoth right across the way, people will pay more money for a bigger lot, obviously. They'll pay more money for more bathrooms. They'll pay more money for more square feet. Mm-hmm. So when you make adjustments on your ARV, the more adjustments you have to make, the farther from a comp it is. Reason being, if there's a house right next door, it's a 900 square foot, 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom house that sold for $125,000. That's really, there's nothing else you need to do. It's a walking copy of your house. If this one's a massive 2,400 square feet, triple lot, blah, 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 you just need to start trying your best to make 10% for another bathroom, 20% for a triple lot, 30% for a finished basement, whatever. You have to start making these adjustments to your property to try and get them to be apples and apples as best as possible. So it starts getting more and more tricky and more convoluted, more gets lost in translation if you start have to making more adjustments on a comp.
I guess I'll hop in here too because we talked about geographically bad comps, right? Mm-hmm. Pulling stuff from Woodruff Place for 600 block of Oakland is not the same thing,
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
So geographically you can have bad comps. Also, you're talking like I don't know what you want to call it, the phonetically or the stats of the house can make for a bad comp even if it is right next door. Right, so especially when you're downtown, it gets harder and harder because you can have, geographically what appears to be a fantastic comp. Yeah. It's the house directly across the street sold, but we got to make sure that lines up with, the stats of 3-bedroom, 1-bath, or the square footage of the house is likely the most important one, right? Is it the same geographically, and is it the same comparable house? I guess based on stats as well. Yeah. Equally as important.
And your appraiser is going to tell you one way or another, no matter which way. So to throw some love out to my appraiser friends, they will let you know if you've picked a bad comp. But we're just trying to get ahead of the ball game here. By the way, folks, if you have questions, comments, concerns, or if you would like us to address,
throw a property out there.
If you'd like us to address, that's why we're here. So please throw out some addresses, throw out some questions, and we'll make sure we can make that work too. Nelly, are we okay back there?
We're all good as of now.
All good as of now.
I do want to say one thing about that too. All of my clients are like, well, what's an appraiser give you for a bathroom? What's an appraiser give you for this? They don't give you anything specific. Everybody's different. There's not an exact science. I wish there was. I would read the whole book. I would read it front to back because then I could help you guys even more. But we just have to stay within the parameters. I tell my agents 2 bedrooms vastly different from a 3-bedroom. Mm-hmm. But 3 and 4 bedrooms I will lump together. Mm-hmm. But 5 bedrooms vastly different from a 4-bedroom.
Right. And it goes on and on. I mean, 6 bedrooms, 7 bedrooms, 8 bedrooms, whatever. At that point, you're talking about a super adequacy house or a 1-bedroom house, which is a completely inferior house like it all. So you can go on and on and on about this stuff.
100%. But I do lump 3 and 4 bedrooms. I think they're fairly,
They're both equally desirable, in my opinion.
Guys, what I would encourage you to do is on our YouTube channel, actually go to Mainstay's YouTube channel. We've got some fantastic videos, a couple different series now, of us sitting down with an appraiser, walking through an adjustment. Why does this go up 10% for a garage? Why does this go down 10% for this? So if you haven't seen those, I'd encourage you to check them out. YouTube.com/Mainstay Property Group. Tons of value in that.
Yeah, and actually Tashina was the one that recommended Mimi to the group.
There you go.
Yeah.
Small world.
So this is the 3-headed monster here saying, check this out. And it's really interesting. We got Mimi who's sitting here in this exact studio answering questions about, again, that, whatever. My favorite takeaway from that was she said, a lot of it is subjective, like you said. Mm-hmm. There's no exact science to it. But the one piece that is an objective measure that they have, and here's your truth nuke right here from Mimi /E.G. Manship, is...
E.G. Manship.
when they're talking mechanicals, you're talking roofs or big CapEx stuff. It's functional or not? Yes or no? Does this work? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Like they test the furnace, they test the AC, they
Really?
test the roof. Is the roof leaking? No. Cool. Functional. Boom. So you go on there and throw a new roof on the thing for a rental or whatever. That's just money coming square out of your pocket. Where
Right.
is if that roof is perfectly fine, especially on a refinance for a rental property, you are beyond okay just keeping that thing there because that money you're spending does nothing for you from an appraisal perspective. So
Fascinating. I must have missed that chunk.
there you go. So
I like that.
yeah. So again, if we're gonna go in there and sexify the bathroom and kitchen and all that stuff, it's something completely different. But whether it's 815 gray or 290 Ardmore, mechanicals are yes and no questions.
Fascinating.
So we've got a viewer asking for a comp. It's on Keystone Avenue. It's a duplex. It's 534 South Keystone.
534 South Keystone.
534
Okay.
South Keystone. I'll load it
Right.
up and
Let's do it.
see what we got. And you said
Is South Keystone even the one, like, we're not talking about, like, south of, you know what I mean? Like,
It's a duplex. Do
we're
you?
not talking about 201, are we?
no, I think it's like Christian Park. Ryan, did the gentleman or lady who left that question have any indication as to how big this was, or the bedrooms or bathrooms per side?
No, it was just a question on looking for comps on that. If you guys were to be able to help out with that.
We're going to do what we can here. But again, folks, when you're approaching a property or you're considering buying a property or needing help with a property, no issue running comps at all. It's what we do professionally. Tashina, it's what she does professionally. But always try your best to include beds, baths, rough square footage per side. Then we can dive deeper into it. Because like Tashina said, a 1-bedroom, 1-bath duplex versus a 4-bed, 2-bath duplex, eons different.
Yep.
Not good comps.
Totally.
So I tell you what, I just went to residential here. Why don't we go to multifamily and just see if there's some...
Can we pull maybe realist?
Yeah, have Tashina walk the realist is something.
That's probably the best idea I've heard my whole life. So, I tell you what, you just want to borrow my computer and you want to drive here?
It's the first time letting someone else in the driver's seat.
I know it's
I love
it's,
it.
It's uncomfortable.
Are you
but
are you nervous? Are you nervous to?
He looks
I'm,
nervous.
I'm a little uncomfortable, but I'm kidding. You're fine.
I was like,
letting my
do
wife-
I
Calm down,
actually?
dude.
It's like letting my wife drive the car. It just doesn't happen.
That's so funny.
So,
Okay.
So for, do you want to describe to the folks what the difference between realist and matrix, or does it just?
Realist is just our tax records, really.
So
You pull the property card, I just pull this.
there's a handful of different ways to identify the
534.
publicly available information. 534.
534 South.
He does say it's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath on each side now.
Perfect.
Oh,
That's
okay,
extremely helpful.
His name's Andy, so say hi.
Hello,
Hi,
Andy.
Andy. Okay. So your way is probably a little quicker than mine, but let's still just try to see. It's 1352 square feet, 4 beds, so that's the 2 on each side. Okay.
So we're going, what is that, 700 square feet a side? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yep.
So if for what it's showing you here, and what this is going to do, guys, is this, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this number right here, this 1352, is going to be populated in, say, your Zillow or your Realtor.com, correct? And that's what they're going to see as far as square footage?
No.
No. Okay, there you go.
Nope. That
So
is.
let's say you don't have Realist, right? How would you be best assessing square footage? If that's a fair question. If not,
And I'll tell you why I said no, because Zillow, even HomeSnap, most of those are pulling basement and main
Basement
and
too.
upper.
Okay, that's really interesting. So if you're looking at Zillow on square footage of a house, that total number you see is likely a little misleading because we are evaluating strictly what's called M and U, main and upper, correct?
Right.
So that's a little bit misleading as far as square footage. That's very, very helpful.
This one, I mean, again, this property card's probably wrong because it's 1890 and it's saying the total building square feet's 1352. So I'm going to guess that's probably incorrect
Could be.
because it's most likely got a basement. It's 1890.
So what I would do, guys, is if I'm looking at this, whether it's on Zillow or a wholesaler sends it to you or you see it on the market, I'd still pop up the record card. And again, the record card is perpetually wrong, but it's the best we've got.
Yep.
So I would load up the record card and just see what they say and use that as just some place to start, and to confirm that something like Realist or what your broker's looking at might be correct. So this is as close as we're going to get. So
Verifying square footage should be part of your due diligence,
100%.
just like talking to your contractor and stuff. First of all, make sure that the numbers make sense with the information that you have before you start sending everybody and their brother out there. But then once you've verified that and the numbers work for you based on that, then go out, verify the square feet, verify the contractor bids and things like that.
I love it.
That's kind of what
It's another truth nuke right there.
yeah, it's true. Well, and Tashina's right. I mean, you're talking $100 on 100 square feet difference, $100 a foot.
Yeah.
$100 difference, $10,000 purchase price. So you're just getting struck right there because your appraiser did the due diligence that you didn't do. So don't get caught up in that.
Yeah.
I love how everyone has their own special way of doing it.
I know, that makes me laugh every time. That's why I love watching other people do this. We need to make everyone come in here and drive the car.
So we don't have a lot of duplexes in the area.
Okay.
But here we go, Evan.
No, you're fine. Keep driving.
No,
please.
keep going,
Please. I insist.
Okay.
So just to repeat that, Tashina kind of murmured to us that there aren't a lot of duplexes in the area, which is great because that's not, that's oftentimes the case. You're not always going to find great duplex comps.
I'm struggling with using yours. It's just not mine. Sorry.
So maybe do this as Ev goes through this. Tashina, walk through what you would be doing here, given the fact there aren't a lot of great comps
Sure.
to assess value.
So I do think English is a dividing line there. However, what I would use as a area of comps is there's not any. So I would be under English and I would be, west of Keystone, even maybe a little bit of east of Keystone, but I would be south of English. The only two we have are the two that are north of English.
Okay.
So I would use those to the best of my ability.
So are you taking those and maybe discounting the value, or you think south of English is more valuable? How do you?
I just tell my clients, I'm like, just realize it is a little bit different area. But
even though we're talking, I mean, and I agree with everything you're saying, but we're talking what?
Yes.
1, 2, 3 parcels away, technically. 4
and
parcels.
as you guys know, with Indianapolis,
That's pretty
I
cool.
literally could just walk to that grocery store and it'd be vastly different than the one over there.
That was,
Probably
that was a soft toss home run right there. She just knocked one out of the park. You're exactly right. Everything is so house by house, block by block, but even these, call it 6 parcels could be vastly different. So just to assume Andy was sitting right here in the room and you had to give him an answer, how would you walk through putting an ARV in this thing if you absolutely had to?
I would tell Andy, I would say, we're going to use these comps even though I think that they're a little outside of what I would like to. We're going to use these as comparables, and then whenever we're doing our due diligence, we're going to verify that we think that that's appropriate to use those.
Cool.
I tell everybody, don't be scared if there's not a lot of comps with duplexes, because it's not very often that people buy a duplex, spruce it up, and then put it on the market. So having those ARVs is kind of hard sometimes, and we have to go outside of what we would consider our normal area.
That's a good point.
So I just clicked on this one on English that I think we all agreed was a dividing line. Mm-hmm. What I like about it right out of the gate is it's selling, within 5% of list price, or 95% rather of list price, and it was on the market for 3 days. So someone somewhere had their eyes set on 24/160.
Yeah, there's clear appetite in the area, which is cool.
Yep.
Which is great. You have documented demand for the area, which is cool. I think aesthetically it's cool. Maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know.
It's your standard rental, baby.
Yeah, look at
water,
that.
water heater in the living room. Yes, there's really not a whole lot that needs done.
But I guess
To
as
that
far as
mark.
condition goes for this neighborhood, you would consider this ARV. I mean, no one's going to go through and throw marble on the floor or anything.
Nope. Yeah, that's pretty well it.
Cool.
Put some appliances in there.
Cool. So we're talking, what was this thing, 70?
So this sold for 80, and and again,
And it's a 2-bedroom, 1
Yeah.
bath on each
Okay.
side. So there you go.
It's 2 beds, 1 bath, and there, it's a little bit bigger. But it is on a busy street. English is a busy street. So again, these are all these adjustments I was talking about earlier. Lives on a busy street, a little bit bigger. Maybe there's a garage, maybe there's a basement, whatever. I mean, this is where you need someone who knows what they're doing, some boots on the ground to help you make these adjustments to, as best you can, realize ARV. But frankly, I don't think, all things considered, I don't think this was a
I would use that
comp.
all day long.
I would use it too. But I would just personally, if I'm doing it though, I'm probably discounting that a little bit because I agree, south of English is not the same neighborhood.
No.
So into what factor you want to discount that is entirely up to you. But I think you start talking 10% discount. I don't know.
Let's look at this thing and see if it can help echo some sentiment here. Because this is on Keystone.
Mm-hmm.
Again, sells within 95% of list. I don't know why. 95% is like my thing for some reason. I don't
Mine
know.
too.
Like if
Love it.
You can kind of justify a 10% 5% discount, but as soon as you start selling it 15, 20% off list price, I mean, literally there's a feature in my board that makes you confirm. Are you sure you want to sell this thing? Mark this thing is sold for less than, is it 20%?
I think it's 15 or 20%. Yeah.
What's sad is I know and she doesn't. That shows who the better broker is, 100%. I know because I've done. So, but I mean, 95% of list price, sold in less than a month. Again, I'm sitting here looking at this like 2 units, 2 bedrooms per unit, 950 square feet. In my opinion, again, this is another comp.
Yep.
Let's see some pictures though. This is comparable condition.
There's a trend in the
Totally.
neighborhood. Yeah.
This is comparable condition.
Yep.
So
Oh, look at that. They
Garage
even
back
have the
there.
fence.
Yeah, man.
Look
check
at
out.
that.
this thing's still for sale. Yeah, this is a comp. I'm using this all day long. So I think
Yep.
we can all agree that, let's call it averaging out 72.5. And what was the other one? 80-ish?
Yeah.
Well, that one was bigger too.
Whatever. Okay, so let's call it in between seven. I would feel comfortable, Andy, 70 to 75 grand from my perspective. I think that's a fair ARV.
I would agree. Mm-hmm.
What do you?
It doesn't matter what I say. You guys are better at this than I am. I'm just here running.
Well, we want your opinion.
Well, I think what needs to be said is that it depends on the dividing line, right? So, like me personally, going back to Brookside Park, if it were at 11th and Dearborn, I'd spend a lot more than 10% than I would on 600 block of Dearborn, right? So that factor needs to be played into the neighborhood. How thick that dividing line is, and frankly,
that's true.
your trusted resource needs to be able to provide that information to you.
I can tell you a lot of my clients have gotten on there and did a Google view sometimes.
Good.
And that's good, but we know that they're pretty outdated.
Right.
But it's good that they're at least going there and trying to do a little due diligence on their own as well, like making sure that that's where they want to be also.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So if you had it your way, assuming Tashina and I, let's say 70 to make math easy, you would discount this by call it 10%, 15%, 20%.
I think it's the only way to do it is
depending how thick that dividing line border is, like 38th Street or College or something.
Exactly,
like
right.
Okay.
And if it's on this side of a busy street or English isn't necessarily a huge corridor, but I agree. I mean, it's going to change the feel of the block. So, yeah, I think that your boots on the ground, your team should be able to provide that, what should that discount factor be to these better comps a little bit north of English.
Okay.
Yep.
Very good. Andy, I hope that helps, man. We just talked in circles for 20 minutes, but I hope.
Hey, we came up with a value.
We got it.
There you go. We're darn close. I think that wraps up. I mean, we've talked about I guess a pretty straightforward Near East Side deal. We've talked about is this twin air technically? A twin air.
What neighborhood would you call this?
Twin air duplex, and we talked about the most boring rental of all time in the Ardmore deal. So I'm good to wrap up, guys. If you have any other questions, comments, concerns, I know last week when we did our last episode we did this.
Well, why don't we do this before we kick off? Because I'm curious, just because after talking to you for the last hour, before we let these people go, what are your core tenets of what makes a good investor on your book? Right? What would you encourage people to do that maybe they're doing differently right now, or in order to make them competitive in the market?
Sure.
What would be your 2 cents?
One, you probably get this a lot too. Don't send me every single property you've ever seen and expect me to run numbers on every one of them, because it's wasting everybody's time. I can't find you a good deal that way.
You have more than one client? You have more than one client?
I do.
Oh, okay.
Weirdly.
Yeah.
But bug me all the time. Remind me that you're wanting a property, because the squeaky wheel gets the oil.
Yep.
Makes sense.
And everybody respect my time. I respect your time, and I think that that's always a good thing too. Bug me, but also know that
Not at
there's
10:30 p.m.
not at midnight. Like,
every
hey,
day
can
at
you
11.
run this property? Like, it'll be there in the morning. It'll be fine, guys. And if it's not, there'll be another.
Right, absolutely.
So, yeah.
Makes perfect sense. It echoes a lot of the same stuff we say, and frankly, I think it makes anyone, regardless of who you're working with in Indianapolis, more competitive. It makes you a better investor to get feedback from people like you who've been there, done that. And
I tell people this all the time, and this is my last piece of it is, how can you as an investor make yourself more competitive? What relationship do you have, or what can you leverage to be a more competitive investor? Some folks know a lot about property taxes, right? That's what makes me a good investor. It's like, oh, that's way too high. I know I can get that down. Or that too many square feet on that. That's not true. I can get that down and get all my money back. So that makes me a good investor. Some folks have an insurance guy who they can get rock bottom rates, makes them a better investor.
or have a husband as a contractor.
Have a husband as a contractor makes you an infinitely more valuable resource as a broker and an investor. So consciously think that to yourself, and maybe this is going to sound really weak, but I can promise you it's not. Maybe something that folks don't give a lot of credence to is just don't be a pain in the ass investor. Don't pester me every single time, or send me every deal that you want numbers ran on. Like if you just
Do a little upfront due diligence. That's all.
All together, and it's easy as can be.
Yeah.
And that's your competitive advantage. You're just a normal person. That goes a long way, at least in our
Same.
game. 100%.
Same.
So
Oh, what were we saying earlier? We were saying that it's their business to grow, and we're here to help them. We're not here to grow their business.
That's a
but
snippet I want to get a tattoo, like a sleeve tattoo. This is not your business to grow on their behalf.
Yeah.
You're not some fiduciary for them, right? You are, but it's their responsibility to grow this thing, and you're there to be their training
Their
wheels,
guide,
their guide,
their helper.
to show them through. But it's not your
Protect
responsibility
them.
to grow it.
Yeah,
Absolutely
right.
protect them.
but you got to do the work on your own. You got to put in the time. So
Yeah.
So Gina, thank you very much for the
Yeah,
snippets and
thanks,
truth nukes. We'll be back every other week, so not this coming Monday. But the Monday subsequent, so the 24th, tune in. We'll have a very special guest for you guys again on the 3rd episode of the Indy Deal Discovery. Talk to you later.